So just a few days ago, we had the version 4.6 live stream for Genshin Impact. And if you saw my video a few days ago, I was talking about whether Arlecchino could actually save the game. Because as I said many times in this channel, Genshin Impact really isn't doing great at the moment. I mean, the player base are not happy at all with literally everything. I mean, the rewards are bad, we're not getting much content, and the characters are just a little bit boring. But Arlecchino has been a highly anticipated character in the game since pretty much the launch of Genshin, so many people thought that this may change everything. And also in that video, I said that we just have to wait and see what comes in the live stream, and just pretty much take it from there as to whether Genshin has successfully brought themselves back up, or whether this was just another dead patch. And as you can see here, I'm actually on the trailer for version 4.6, and it came out just 3 days ago, whenever the live stream aired. And already, it's at 1.1 million views, which is actually insane for Genshin Impact. If we just go to the channel here, we can see that many of the other stuff don't really have that many views. I mean, there is always stuff that does better than others, like character demos. I mean, this gets 2.8 million views, but other stuff like this gets 153, 640,000, so this is a pretty big video for Genshin, especially in 3 days. And also, I've actually got a plugin on YouTube which tells me how good a video is doing. You can just see it above my head here. It's called an outlier score, and this says 2.8x, which means it is performing above average. And if I move out the way, you can actually see that the typical view range here is much lower than how the video is performing, which is great. And it really tells you how much of an anticipated character Arlecchino is. I mentioned this so much in my last video about many people have been wanting her since the game first came out, and all those little teaser trailers with the Faturi and everything, so people are excited for this character, which has pretty much brought on a massive resurgence for Genshin Impact. And if we look down here as well, I've also got another plugin which shows me dislikes. If you don't know, YouTube actually removed dislikes for some reason, I don't know why, but this is actually fairly positive. We can see that they've got 85,000 likes and then only 1.5 thousand likes. You know, it's Genshin Impact, they're always going to get dislikes. And if you compare it to something like the version 4.5 trailer, we can actually see that the dislikes are way worse than this one, and this is because this was a dead patch. I mean, I've already touched on this a little bit. Chiori just wasn't that exciting, and there wasn't really anything going on in version 4.5, and this prompted a lot of players to quit and just stop playing the game, which is acceptable. I mean, there literally was nothing else to do. And especially with the rise of games like Honkai Star, which is also made by Hoyoverse, people were just going to go and switch over there because there's more content to do. And this even got less views after a month, which is actually crazy. Now, as I said, we had to wait until the live stream until we could actually form an opinion on whether Genshin Impact is saved in quotation marks. I had a lot of comments last time of people saying just because it's been knocked off the top spot doesn't mean it's dead, and I'm not saying it's dead at all, but what I was trying to get across was that it was failing at the time. And the only way that you can actually see if a game is failing is the revenue, and the revenue was going down by a significant amount. And you literally can't argue that at all. I know there's tons of people in the comments going, oh, but it's still second place and stuff. I never said that it was doing bad and that it was in the worst state and the Hoyoverse could potentially shut down the game forever because it wasn't doing good. That's not it at all. And I mean, it's still doing great. It still made a ton of money. What I'm trying to say, it was just not in the position where it was at in the past. And I mean, if you want updates to keep coming out like version 4.5 where we got Chiori and pretty much nothing else, then go ahead. Just say stuff in the comments saying, hey, no, it's fine. They're still big. But being knocked off of the top spot is a big indicator of how Genshin Impact is doing. And I mean, we still got a couple of places to go yet in the game, and it was already kind of going down, so it's a little bit concerning to see this early on, because obviously every single game falls off at some point. I mean, there are some that stick around for longer, and also it just depends on what kind of game it is. I mean, if you think about many combat games where you literally just hop into a game every single time and just keep going and keep going, they will have a longer life. But games like Genshin Impact where there's a story, and you know, this story will eventually end at some point, and I know they said there wasn't going to be any end game, but the story itself will probably end. Then nearing the end of that story, and after that's finished, then you know, the player base is just going to move on and go into another game. But this is just natural. This is normal. But it seems like the revenue chart is going to change again, because I really think at this point, after seeing the live stream, I really think that Genshin Impact is going to get a massive amount of sales, and then they're going to skyrocket back up to the top with the release of Arlecchino. Because as I said, the dislike ratio really isn't that high for a Genshin Impact video, which means many people actually like this update, and even many creators that really dislike the game with a passion, such as Tectone, which I mentioned in the last video, he actually said he was going to give it a try and pull on Arlecchino, because this is how good this update looked. Now, overall, what did I think of the update? Well, first of all, we got to talk about Arlecchino, because this was a massive part in the overall hype. I think if it was any other character other than Arlecchino, I don't think as many people would be looking at this, and many people would be enjoying it. I mean, there are still tons of people out there that really don't like this update, and I still think this game isn't going anywhere. But honestly, as I go into it even more, I really think that Genshin have stepped up a little bit, and it could save it for the time being. So yeah, like I was saying, Arlecchino's design is absolutely amazing. We've seen her quite a bit in the story quests and stuff, so we already know what her kind of personality and what she looks like and stuff like that, so that is pretty cool. And also, we got the little teaser of a boss version of her, so I'm guessing we're going to be fighting her at some point. Now, I don't know what the implications of the story are, but we'll find out whenever the update comes out. But again, I really like the design of the boss. I really wish this was a skin, because the design is absolutely amazing, and it's some of the best design that I've seen from Genshin in a little while, so I'm super looking forward to the boss as well. Now, on the topic of the boss, there's also a new story quest announced, which I think will be absolutely amazing. I mean, many people are super excited for this too, because, you know, it's involving the Fatui, it's involving Arlecchino and the House of the Half. The people are really excited to play this and just get back into some good Genshin story that isn't just filler from like some event, which we've had quite a lot recently. And also in the trailer, we had quite a lot about Sino and Sumeru. So I think we've got a little bit more of Sumeru's story. Me personally, I didn't really enjoy Sumeru that much. It's probably one of my least favorite regions out there, and I think many could agree with me. But I like the fact that they're trying to tie in a lot of the regions and not just, you know, move on to Fontaine and just focus only on Fontaine, and that they're actually going back and improving their characters and improving their story overall. And this whole tying regions together also takes me to the events, where we actually got a new event with Ito in Inazuma, which is actually insane because we haven't seen Inazuma in a little while. If you count some of the more minor quests, like the ones where you did the little fight and you had to fight the dog and stuff like that, I mean, you know, I guess they can kind of count, but this is a pretty big event and has some story behind it. And with Inazuma being one of my favorite regions, I'm super excited for this, so I can't wait to play it. And continuing with the events, we also got more Wind Trace, which you may know people love. It is probably one of the most favorited events in Genshin, just because of how different it is and how fun it is to play with other players in the game, and they've decided to bring it back, which tells me that Hoyoverse are really trying to bring back the players in with these super enjoyable events. And they've also made some changes to Wind Trace 2, making it more of a like a Dead by Daylight kind of game, where you can also repair stuff and, you know, be chased down by hunters, which is very cool. And just overall, in this update and in future updates, if they continue to make changes like this and add super fun events, and even if they do reuse an event and just kind of update it a little bit, I think that's totally fine. And honestly, if every single update after 4.6 is like this and also has a little bit more to it, we could be seeing some really great updates for the game. Now, there are a couple downsides with this update, which I need to bring up because there's a lot of people arguing for that. There's a lot of people out there saying this update was meh, this update was bad, this update was terrible. I mean, I don't think this update was terrible at all, but I could also see why some people were saying it's okay. And honestly, I do think it's just like good. I don't think it's great. I don't think it's perfect. It's definitely nowhere near something like Honkai Star at the moment, but it's definitely an improvement from the last couple of updates we've had. And I think this is an ongoing issue of Genshin because if they added a few more rewards, I think this could have made this update great. I mean, I know you get a ton of rewards in the new events and stuff, which is really great, but with games like Honkai Star Rail, and we have to compare it to Honkai Star Rail because it's the same company, and if you think that you can't compare these games, then I think you're just dumb because they can literally do the same for the same games. Honkai Star Rail, they get free temples all the time on live streams, and we just haven't really had that. I mean, we get live stream codes, but so do they, and they also get a temple on top of that. So I'd say one thing they could improve on is just adding a few more rewards without having to do a long-winded event or something. Maybe just throw in a free temple, and that would honestly take it from good to great, because I think that's why people just don't really like this update overall. And yes, maybe they could have added a bit more content, but I don't really know what they could have added. Maybe another completely new event, but honestly, I think they tried their hardest here, and that, yeah, if we get a few more rewards, this could be even better. Overall, I think that the version 4.6 livestream was a big success, and I think a lot of people will come back to the game. Not that the update is super amazing or anything, but it's good enough to draw some old players back and also just keep some players playing. And if they keep releasing updates like this every single time, then honestly, I think they can really maintain the player base they used to have. And if it does stay like that, I think Genshin could stay on top for a couple more years. But again, we never know with Hoyoverse what they're going to do with the game. They could release some amazing updates in the future, or we could have some pretty dead patches like version 4.5. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But for this update, it actually looks pretty good, and I'm happy that lots of people are coming back to the game, that we've actually got a semi-decent update that we can enjoy. Yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say about the version 4.6 livestream. Just let me know in the comments what you guys think about it, because there's a lot of varying opinions whenever I was talking about Arlecchino. We'll just have to wait and see what this version does to the whole revenue chart, whether it will bring it up or bring it down, and just go from there, because honestly, I think this could shoot it right back up to the top again. Anyways, that's all. See ya.